It's Sunday, and for today's Sunday dinner, I am making a roast chicken, only this time I'm making a roast chicken in the air fryer. Now, before we get started, let me be sure to say that when I am making roast chicken, the two things that I always have handy is my bottle of Clorox Kitchen Cleanup and some paper towels. That way, if I have any chicken juice that gets dropped anywhere, I'm going to clean it up with the paper towel and my Clorox cleanup. I am not going to use my dishcloth because I don't want to get that chicken juice in the dishcloth and then I'm using that dishcloth and wiping it around other places. No. Even though I'm going to change out the dishcloths once I'm all done in the kitchen, I start with the paper towels just in case there's anything on the sink or on the counter that I need to take care of. Okay, so now let's get to roasting that chicken. So I'll put this grocery bag on the other side so I can put any discards in that. And then I'll get my chicken out of the package that it came in. And I'll check to see if there's any innards. And here's a chicken neck, some giblets, and it looks like that's it. I can fill my way all the way through and there's nothing else down there. So I'm going to wash my hands and get a bowl out to put those giblets in. I didn't realize those were going to be in there, but I always check for just in case. Well, I'm going to put the chicken neck in the bowl. I'm not going to use those giblets. I don't use much organ meat anymore. Then I'm going to come over here and check my chicken and see if there's any discolorations. Don't see any. So I'll give it a gentle rinse, just a gentle rinse. Now, the USDA does not recommend rinsing your chicken. They say just unwrap it and cook it. Any bacteria will be killed in cooking. And whereas I go by most of the things they tell me, for some reason I just can't not wash my chicken. I just have to. So I will give this chicken just a good rinse inside and out. Notice I'm using very, very low water stream, but you don't have to do this part. Using my arms to kind of move that around. And then while my hands are here, I'm going to get them underneath this chicken. Or rather, get them underneath the skin of the chicken. And you can use a spoon, but you can also just kind of use your hands to get under there, close around underneath where the legs are, because we're going to be putting our butter and other seasonings there. And I'm going to come around to the back. And again, I'm just kind of getting my fingers underneath there. And I'm doing this over the sink so that I can just kind of not have to worry about doing this at the counter and then maybe splashing stuff over there. So just getting it all underneath there, making sure that I don't tear the skin because I don't want to do that. But get close to the wings. Going to turn the water back on real quick, just a little bit. Looks like I tore that a little bit right there. Didn't mean to do that. Now I'm going to let it drain here. Then I'm going to get it moved over to the counter where I'm going to work with it. And I am so sorry, I forgot to bring you along when I was putting the spices together, but I've got a little black pepper, some onion powder, some sage, some paprika, lemon and pepper seasoning, thyme, and then some garlic powder. And I'm going to whisk this all together. And then I'll add a little bit of oil. And I'm going to rub this all over the inside and the outside of my chicken. So I'm going to add a little bit of oil now to this. About 2 tablespoons of oil. And this is just really going to coat that chicken and really give it a great flavor. And these are the spices that I typically use on my roasted chicken. I might add just a tad bit more paprika. Well, that'll just give it great color and great flavor. And I've still got my little bag in the sink to put in any trash or discards that I might have. So I can drop these paper towels right in that little discard bag so that I can get that all cleaned up when I'm done. I'm going to take some of this seasoning mix and rub it under the skin of my chicken. And I'm also going to rub some on the inside the cavity, as well as all over the outside. And I dried the skin off just so that when I applied this oil, it would just have a nice crisp finish coming out of that air fryer. And I wanted to do this chicken in the air fryer because I know some of you are thinking about doing a roast chicken for the holiday instead of a turkey. So I wanted to give you a couple of options. And I put all of my spices, except for a little salt, in this bowl because I didn't want to be touching all those spice containers with my hands that have been holding this poultry or touching this poultry. Now I'm going to tuck my chicken wings underneath the bird. And then I'm going to try to get my legs tied up. And I can tell you what, trussing up this bird is always a trick. But that just helps you to get things roasted evenly. So got those. Turn it over for a second and This video is brought to you by Aprondiva. Pretty and practical, we believe that an apron can be a homemaker's best accessory. Visit us at www.aprondiva.com. I've got some fresh rosemary here. And I'll also just kind of smush up some garlic and just put that in the cavity of the chicken. This will just really imbue it with great flavor. There we go. There's the garlic. And then I'm just going to go with half an onion. Now, if this was a turkey, I would put the whole onion inside, but it's not. It's just a chicken and it's much smaller, so I'm just going to go with a half an onion. And you guys know I got to have some carrot. And you guys know I got to have some celery in there. So, now I am going to stuff the cavity of this chicken with our fresh herbs of rosemary, some garlic, onion, as well as celery. And then some of the garlic I'm just going to tuck down in these little crevices here. And now I'm going to put this chicken down inside this fry pan with the breast side down. Now I'm going to set this in the fridge for about 20 to 30 minutes just to kind of ensure a crispy skin. So I'll come back. I'm going to just go ahead and wash these up while I've got that sitting in the fridge. And I'm going to use my Viva cloth-like paper towels to do that, because I don't want to get any of that poultry juice on my dishcloth. Whereas with these Viva cloth-like paper towels, I can just dispose of them once I'm done. And this is a glass cutting board. My husband got it for me. He went to an art museum about 10 or 15 years, well, 15 or 20 years ago, and picked this up for me, and I use it sparingly. I probably don't use it as often as I could, but when I am cooking poultry, when I am handling poultry or other meat, I will use it, because I don't like to use this to put raw meat on the cutting board that I use for my veggies. I keep that one strictly for veggies, but I do have a couple that I use just for when I'm working with meat. I'm noisy today. And I have got a hands-free trash can. So when I get ready to put stuff in there, especially when it's like goofy stuff, like this chicken juice on these paper towels, I don't have to handle the lid or step on anything like that. You know, just wave my hand over it, it's hands-free, and it opens up and I can drop them in. And setting that chicken in the fridge for about 30 minutes just allowed me to kind of get this cleaned up and get the camera moved around so that I can show you the next step. And as I finish up cleaning up the sink, notice I'm cleaning up the handle. If I touch the little button under there, I'm cleaning up this whole area, as well as the scissors that I use to cut the bag open with. I sprayed that Clorox cleanup on there and I let it sit on there for about 30 seconds. And then I can just wipe that right off and it'll be good to go. And I'm cleaning up under here, everywhere that I might have touched. And then once I get that chicken in the air fryer, I'll wipe down that whole counter, just in case I splashed any chicken juice. And then any dish towels that I may have had out while I was working, I'll put in the laundry and get out fresh ones. And then I'll give the sink one more spray and then just let that sit. Oh, and almost forgot to wipe down this hand wash. And you want to be sure to wash that too, because you know I touched this a couple of times while I was getting ready. So now I'm just going to let that sit there. So now I'm going to just let that sit there because I really don't want any cross-contamination. Now, in case you're thinking to yourself, why is she showing us how to wash her hands? And why is she showing us how she washes down her sink? We know to do that. Well, you may, but there are a lot of young homemakers who follow me who are just learning their home cooking skill set, and they don't know that you have to wash your hands continuously when you're working with raw poultry and raw meat. And then here's the other thing too. You might be saying, well, why don't you just wear gloves and you don't have to worry about it? Well, gloves are like a false sense of security. People that wear gloves think that because they have gloves on, they're protected, and then they still aren't careful and they touch everything and they still cross-contaminate. So you're more careful in your home if you are washing your hands as you should. So, okay, I'm going to get that chicken out of the fridge and then we'll get on to part 2. Now I've got the Bella Pro Series 8-quart air fryer. My sister gave it to me for Christmas last year, and whereas the hubby and I have enjoyed using it, it just dawned on me that I've never shared using it with all of you. And I know that some of you are looking for options on how to roast a chicken or maybe even a turkey breast this holiday season. So I thought I would let you see how I can use it to roast this chicken. So let me just bring you up close one more time and let you see how I've got the chicken in here on its breast side down. So let me do that real quick. So there you go. You can see there the chicken is breast side down. And I tore the skin accidentally. So now I'm going to slip this in. And now the touch screen comes up. I'm going to turn it on. And then I'm going to choose the chicken option, and I'm going to increase the time to 30 minutes. And it's set at 360 degrees for chicken according to the Bella Pro Series air fryer. And it is going to cook for 30 minutes. So after it cooks for 30 minutes, I'm going to remove the air fryer basket and then flip the chicken over, and then I'm going to probably sprinkle a few more seasonings on the breast of the chicken, and then I'll pop it back in for another 30 minutes, and then I'll check the temperature to see how it's looking. So I'll come back in 30 minutes. Now while the chicken is roasting in the air fryer, I'm going to go ahead and get started on this Brussels sprouts with bacon and walnuts. We are going to have this as one of our side dishes, and it is a Weight Watcher recipe and only 3 points per serving. And I thought I'd better cook these Brussels sprouts today because they've been in the fridge for a little while. So when I shopped my shelves, which included shopping my refrigerator shelves, I thought, uh-oh, gotta cook those Brussels sprouts before they go bad. So let's get that started. These are some large Brussels sprouts, so I'm going to cut them into quarters. When my kids were little, they used to turn up their noses at Brussels sprouts. We told them they were baby cabbages. They were more likely to eat them that way. In case you're wondering what that noise was, the hubby just walked through.
What?
Yeah, he's still talking. He's always getting after me about chopping. He's bought me several little devices to chop with, but you can't chop Brussels sprouts with those devices. I'm just cutting these in half. Okay, the first 30 minutes have cooked. And the nice thing about this is there's no hot part on this top. And oh my goodness, look at this. Now I gotta get it flipped over. There we go. So now it's flipped over. Oh, it smells really good. I'm going to sprinkle just a little salt on that because I did not put any salt in it before. And just a little bit of paprika. Just a little bit. Give it a nice bright color. A little bit of pepper on top. And just a little bit of fresh rosemary on top. I like rosemary on chicken. So now we're going to pop this back in. Set it on chicken. And I've increased the time to 40 minutes. I'm going to put these Brussels sprouts into this bowl, and then I'm going to cut these leeks. The recipe calls for shallots, which I don't have, but leeks are a good substitute. So I've cleaned them really well, split them down the middle, rinsed them to try to make sure I got all the sand out, and I'm cutting them into 1/2-inch little circlets. And I'm going to put those in the bowl with the Brussels sprouts. And these are some of my Trader Joe finds. You know, I got a couple comments from people that were like, you didn't make the stuff, you didn't cook the things you got at Trader Joe's. Well, I just hadn't gotten around to it yet, but now I am. So there'll be leeks in here and Brussels sprouts that I got at Trader Joe's. And like I said, the recipe did call for shallots, which I don't have any of, but you can sub shallots for onions, leeks, chives, and my chives are still growing, but they've kind of gone to flowering, so I don't know what their flavor might be like. And as I said, I did shop my shelves, which were in my fridge this time, and I needed to use these leeks. So I'll get these leeks and the Brussels sprouts tossed in some olive oil and a little seasoning, and then get them into the oven to roast. And we'll have these along with mashed potatoes and gravy and our roasted chicken. Now I'll get these tossed just a little bit. So I need a couple of tablespoons of olive oil, and that was about all that I had in this bottle. And I'm just going to give these a good toss. And then I'm going to spread them on the baking sheet and toss them some more. I'm going to sprinkle this with 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, and I'm going to give it another good toss. And while this is in the oven roasting, I'll get the bacon ready. Okay, let's pop this in the oven. Now that's going to stay in the oven for about 20 minutes at 450, and that's about how long it's going to take for that roasted chicken to come out. So I'll come back and let you see what's what. All right, let's take this out and test it with a thermometer to see how it's doing. Okay, so it needs to be at 165 to 170 degrees Fahrenheit, and it is not. It is right around 158, not quite 160, so it needs to go back in. So I think what I'm going to do is turn it over. Because the front of it is starting to get a little brown. So I'm going to turn it over. Pop it back in there. Bacon looks pretty good. I'll cut the bacon into like about 1/2-inch pieces. And then toss this. And it's a Weight Watchers recipe, so it's certainly friendly to my diet. 1/2 cup serving is 3 points. So I'm pretty sure hubby and I will enjoy this meal. Now give this a good toss so that the bacon is just all mixed in with the Brussels sprouts. And then I'll set it aside with the lid over it so it can stay warm. That's my lid. Oh, I've got some biscuits in the freezer, or I had some in the freezer. So I'm going to take out 4 of those for us to have, well, today's dinner. I'll put those in the oven to warm up. Okay, I've checked the temperature again, and it is well above 160. It is at like 185. That was in a thigh, and I turned it over because the up front was getting a little bit brown. So here's the back side, and it is looking pretty good. Now we'll get this turned over. Oh yeah, I'm so glad that I turned it over. So there it is, turned over, and it's feeling awful crispy. Let me check the temperature. And from the front, temperature is about 178, almost at 180, and I'm down in the joint. How's that? Down in the joint, it's like right at 160. I'm gonna put it back in for another 5 minutes. Meanwhile, I'm gonna work on some gravy. Going to add just a little bit of fat, which is in the form of butter. I haven't strained out all my drippings yet from my chicken,
So I'll get some of that in here in just a little bit, but I wanted to go ahead and get this butter melting. Then I'm going to add a little bit of flour to my butter and let that flour cook off. And I'm going to turn this down just a little bit because you saw that butter was getting a little brown. And get that flour cooked off. And I'm going to add a little bit of chicken broth. So I got a little bit of the pan drippings off of that chicken and got that in here. So that's going to give this some great flavor. So now we got the fat. We got the fat, we got the flour, and then we have some of the drippings. I'm going to let that just kind of simmer for a bit. Now this gravy is looking pretty darn good. It's nice and brown. Now again, chicken gravy is going to be a lighter brown than others, but it's a nice rich color. And let's just see how it's looking. See there? It's nice and thick. At least it's thick enough. And one of the secrets to gravy is to keep stirring because you do not want to let it scorch. If you scorch the gravy, you just have to toss it out and start all over again. So I'm going to turn the heat off and set this off so this gravy is ready. So just waiting on that chicken to come out. I did put a couple extra minutes on it. All right, so it's reading 180 degrees in that thigh joint. So it looks pretty good. The chicken skin is nice and crisp. So let's get this string off of it. Now I will remind you guys that the instructions said that I could do something up to 4.5 pounds. And I actually did a 5.5 pound chicken because that's what I had. So I'm going to let this chicken stand for about 5 minutes while I get the table ready, and then I'll come and I'll slice into it and we'll see what's what. All right, let's cut into this bad boy. Let's start over here since this is where I was sticking the and this is why I kept putting it back in. I wanted to make sure that it was cooked all the way through, and it has. There's no pink in there. It's nicely cooked down in there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that part off because my husband tends to like that part of the chicken. And then you can see all in there, it is nicely cooked. Now inside we have the onions and the herbs, so I can get those out. Because we won't be eating those. But they will have flavored the chicken nicely. And then let's cut into the breast. See how that's looking. So here's the breast, which is what I tend to like. And it looks like it's nice and moist, but it's cooked all the way through. Let's taste the piece. It's got great flavor. And I'll go ahead and plate everything up. Little mashed potatoes. A little gravy. And then here are our Brussels sprouts with leeks and bacon. So the kitchen is cleaned up and I was about to put everything away, and I thought I would just share with you a little bit about, first of all, what I used to put these things away, and then our leftovers. So I took 4 biscuits out of the freezer, but we only ate 2 of them. So I left these 2 out, and maybe we'll have them in the morning for breakfast. But here is some of the mashed potatoes. This is the Brussels sprouts with the leeks, and I realized that I forgot to put the walnuts in. When I was putting some things away, I thought, oh shoot, this was supposed to be walnuts in with the Brussels sprouts, the leeks, and the bacon, and I forgot those. So when I heat the Brussels sprouts up the next time, I'll put the walnuts in. So there's that. And of course, my cranberry sauce. And then I put the leftover chicken in here. I cut it in half and then put the half and a quarter in here. So this manages to put things away nicely. And I tell you what, it is difficult to put away food
in the refrigerator for proper storage if you don't have the right storage solutions. So these Rubbermaid Brilliance leak-proof storage containers work out beautifully for me, and so there are those. And then of course I made that most delicious chicken gravy, and I've got this much gravy left, and we can have gravy tomorrow and then probably gravy for later on in the week. But probably what I may end up having to do is put some of this gravy in the freezer, because I don't see how we're going to be able to use it all. And then I also want to show you a new saucepan that I have. I have one saucepan that I use most of the time, and it is my Curtis Stone Dura Diamond saucepan. And I had another saucepan that was similar to this, and I gave it away to someone who needed some cookware, because I thought, oh, I don't use it very much, so I'll give her this size. Well, as soon as I gave it away, I realized, whereas I didn't use this size saucepan often because I typically use my Curtis Stone pan, I used it when I needed it. And I needed one for if I'm making gravy in one little saucepan and I need another one to put maybe a small amount of, say, corn or something like that in it, I needed two. So I ordered this one, and I ordered this one on Amazon. It was just $14.99, and it worked out really well. I used it today to make the gravy, and it is stainless steel, and it's a fairly good weight, and it's got kind of a flat bottom there. There's no indentations or anything like that on the bottom, so that works out well on my glass top stove. And then it's got a nice lid there. You've got your vent, and then you've got a really nice like little knob like lid in the a knob like fixture in the lid. So here's this nice little saucepan that I am absolutely loving as well. So I'm going to get these things put into the fridge, and I'll see you next time.